This is about the moment my mother stood in a university auditorium with 2,000 people and watched my aunt receive the standing ovation during my valedictorian speech while her hands trembled against her program, realizing she'd lost both her daughters, one to addiction, one to a life she'd never be part of. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it started. I was 15 when my parents decided I was disposable. My name is Maya Reyes, and I had a twin sister named Victoria. We were born 4 minutes apart in a Vancouver hospital on a February morning, but those 4 minutes might as well have been 4 years. Victoria came first, screaming and pink and perfect. I came second, quiet and blue. My cord wrapped around my neck. The nurses said I almost didn't make it. Maybe that's why Mom always looked at me like she was waiting for me to disappear. Victoria was everything I wasn't. She had this effortless charm that made adults lean in when she talked, made teachers excuse late assignments, made our parents light up when she walked into a room. She was on the volleyball team, had a boyfriend by grade 9, always knew exactly what to say at family dinners. I was the weird one. The one who spent lunch periods in the library, who got anxious at parties, who Mom introduced as our other daughter, Maya. Our other daughter. Like I was the backup, the spare. Dad wasn't much better. He'd ask Victoria about her games, her friends, her plans. When he looked at me, it was like he was trying to remember who I was. How's school, kiddo? Same question every time. He never waited for the answer. I learned to be invisible. It was easier that way. The pattern was consistent throughout our childhood. Victoria's volleyball trophies lined the mantel. My honor roll certificates stayed in a drawer. Victoria got a new phone for her birthday. I got her old one. Victoria wanted to go to a concert. Dad drove 2 hours. I needed a ride to a science competition. Can't you take the bus, Maya? I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I didn't care. I was lying, but I managed. I kept my head down, got good grades, stayed out of their way. I had my books, my debate club, my plans for university. I could survive 3 more years, then I'd be free. Then May 12th happened. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had debate practice until 6, working on our provincial tournament prep. Our coach, Miss Patterson, had us running drills for 2 hours straight. I was exhausted when I finally got home around 7. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. Victoria was sitting at the kitchen table, her face blotchy and red. Mom was pacing. Dad stood with his arms crossed, and when he looked at me, his expression made my stomach drop. Maya. His voice was flat. We need to talk. I set my backpack down slowly. What's wrong? Where were you today? Mom demanded. Debate practice. Miss Patterson kept us late because... Before that, I blinked. School. Then I came straight to practice. Why? Victoria let out this choked sob, and Mom immediately went to her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. It's okay, honey. We know. Know what? My heart was pounding now. What's going on? Dad pulled something from his pocket. A small plastic bag with white powder inside. Do you want to tell us what this is? The world tilted. I don't. I've never seen that before. It was in your room, Mom said. Her voice was shaking. Hidden in your closet. That's not possible. I don't do drugs. I've never. Victoria told us everything, Dad interrupted. About how you've been stealing her things, selling her jewelry to buy this garbage. I turned to Victoria. She was crying, but she wouldn't look at me. Vic, what are you talking about? I never. My gold bracelet, she whispered. The one Grandma gave me. It's gone. And your drawer, it's full of cash, Maya. Where did you get that money? What cash? I don't have any. We found it, Mom said. $240 hidden under your clothes. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of this. I've been saving my allowance. I was going to buy a new laptop for university. Don't lie to us. Dad's voice cracked like a whip. Victoria saw you. She saw you going through her jewelry box last week. I wasn't. I never touched her jewelry. I looked at Victoria, pleading. Tell them. Tell them you're lying. But she just shook her head, tears streaming. I wanted to give you a chance to admit it. I thought maybe if I confronted you privately, but then I found the drugs, and I couldn't keep covering for you anymore. Covering for me? You're making this up. None of this is true. Enough. Dad's voice was cold. Colder than I'd ever heard it. We're not stupid, Maya. The evidence is right here. What evidence? Some powder that could be anything? Money from my allowance? Victoria's lying. Why would your sister lie? Mom's eyes were wet, but her jaw was set. Why would she make this up? I don't know. But I didn't do this. I swear I didn't do this. Dad shook his head slowly. You know what hurts the most? Not the drugs, not the stealing. It's the lying. Looking us right in the eye and lying. I'm not lying. I was at school, then debate practice. Miss Patterson can confirm. Miss Patterson confirmed you were at practice, Mom said. But that doesn't mean you weren't in Victoria's room before school. That doesn't explain the cash, the drugs. I felt like I was drowning. Please. Please just listen to me. I didn't do any of this. Victoria's setting me up. Stop it, Victoria sobbed. Just stop. I'm trying to help you, and you're making it worse. Help me? You're lying about me. That's enough. Dad's voice cut through everything. Pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight. The room went silent. I stared at him. What? You heard me. Pack your things. You're leaving. Dad, no. We've tried everything with you, Maya. We've been patient. We've given you chances. But this? He gestured at the bag of powder. We will not have drugs in this house. We will not have a thief stealing from her own sister. I'm not a thief. This is insane. Pack your bag. Mom was crying now too, but she didn't argue with him. She just stood there with her arm around Victoria, like she needed to protect her from me, like I was the dangerous one. Where am I supposed to go? My voice cracked. That's not our problem anymore, Dad said. You made your choices. Now deal with the consequences. I looked at Victoria, really looked at her. And for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Something that looked almost like guilt. But then she buried her face in Mom's shoulder, and the moment was gone. I don't remember packing. I don't remember what I put in the bag. I just remember standing in my room, hands shaking, trying to process that this was actually happening, that they were actually doing this. I was 15 years old, and my parents were throwing me out. I tried one more time when I came downstairs. Please. I'm telling the truth. I didn't do anything wrong. Dad was holding the front door open. Goodbye, Maya. Where am I supposed to sleep tonight? You should have thought of that before you started using drugs. I don't use drugs. He just shook his head, like I was a lost cause, like he'd already given up on me. Mom wouldn't even look at me. I walked out into the May evening with one backpack and the clothes on my back. The door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. I sat on the curb for 20 minutes before I could think clearly enough to pull out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. There was only one person I could call. Hello? My aunt's voice was warm, confused. It was almost 8 at night. Aunt Diane? I couldn't keep my voice steady. It's Maya. Sweetie? What's wrong? Everything came spilling out. The accusations, the drugs, Victoria's lies. My parents throwing me out. I was crying so hard I could barely get the words out. Aunt Diane didn't interrupt. She just listened. And when I finally ran out of words, she said 3 words that made me break down completely. I believe you. You do? Maya, I've known you your whole life. You're a lot of things, but a liar isn't one of them. And a drug user? She made a sound that might have been a laugh if it wasn't so sad. Not a chance. Where are you right now? Outside the house. On the sidewalk. Stay there. Don't move. I'm in Kelowna right now, but I'm getting in my car. I'll be there in 4 hours, okay? Can you wait 4 hours? I looked up at the house. The lights were on inside. Through the window, I could see Mom hugging Victoria. Dad's arm around both of them. A perfect family portrait, without me in it. Yeah, I whispered. I can wait. Put your headphones in. Listen to music. Stay in a lit area. I'm coming, sweetheart. I promise I'm coming. Those 4 hours were the longest of my life. I sat on that curb and watched my house like I was watching a stranger's life. Mom closed the blinds in the living room. The kitchen light went off. Victoria's bedroom light stayed on. I wondered if she felt guilty. I wondered if she felt anything at all. I tried to understand why she'd done it. We weren't close, but I'd never thought she hated me. Was it jealousy? But that didn't make sense. She was the favorite. She had everything. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe having everything wasn't enough if I existed too. My phone buzzed. Victoria. I'm sorry. I didn't think they'd kick you out. Where are you? I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked her number. Aunt Diane pulled up at 11:47 p.m. She didn't say anything, just got out of the car and hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. I broke down again, sobbing into her shoulder in the middle of the street. It's okay, she murmured. You're okay. I've got you now. She threw my bag in the back seat, and we drove away. I looked back once. The house was dark now. Everyone was asleep. They probably slept just fine. Aunt Diane lived in Kelowna, 4 hours from Vancouver. She was Dad's younger sister, the black sheep who'd moved away from the family when I was 10. She was a veterinarian, never married, lived in a small house near the lake. We'd seen her maybe twice a year at family gatherings. But she was the only one who believed me. The drive back was quiet. She didn't ask me to explain again, didn't interrogate me. She just asked if I was hungry. I wasn't. If I needed anything. I didn't know, and told me we'd figure everything out in the morning. Her house smelled like coffee and dog. A golden retriever named Murphy greeted us at the door, tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. Aunt Diane showed me to the spare room, her office, really, with a pull-out couch and shelves full of veterinary textbooks. Bathrooms down the hall, she said. Clean towels in the cabinet. I'm going to make some tea. You want some? I nodded, throat too tight to speak. We sat at her kitchen table at midnight, mugs of chamomile between us, Murphy's head in my lap. Tell me the truth, Aunt Diane said quietly. Did you take Victoria's bracelet? No. Did you plant drugs in your room? No. I've never touched drugs in my life. Do you have any idea why Victoria would do this? I shook my head. I've been trying to figure it out all night. We weren't close, but I never thought she hated me. Aunt Diane was quiet for a moment. Your mom and dad always favored her. You know that, right? Yeah. That's not your fault, Maya. That's their failure as parents, not your failure as a daughter. Something in my chest cracked open. I started crying again. Aunt Diane reached across the table and took my hand. Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, I'm calling your school, confirming your alibi for today. Then I'm calling a lawyer to see what our options are. Your parents can't just kick out a 15-year-old. That's child abandonment. I don't want to go back there. I know. And you don't have to. If you want to stay here, with me, we'll make that happen. But Maya? She squeezed my hand. I need you to be strong right now. This is going to be hard. Your parents are going to fight this. Victoria's going to maintain her story. People are going to doubt you. Can you handle that? I thought about sitting on that curb for 4 hours, about my mother's face when she chose Victoria, about Dad holding the door open. Yeah, I said. I can handle it. Good. Because you deserve better than them. You deserve someone who believes in you, who sees you. And I do. I see you, Maya. And you're not going anywhere. I lived with Aunt Diane after that. The legal stuff was messy, lawyers, social workers, family court. My parents fought for about 2 weeks before they gave up. Aunt Diane said it was because they realized fighting meant admitting they'd thrown out their daughter over unproven accusations. Easier to let me go. They signed over guardianship 3 weeks after I moved in. I never went back to that house. School was harder. Victoria told everyone her version, that I'd stolen from her, that I was on drugs, that our parents had tried to help but I'd refused. Some people believed her. Most just stayed away from me entirely, like dysfunction was contagious. I didn't care anymore. I had Aunt Diane. I had Murphy. I had a room that felt like mine, where I could close the door and breathe. I threw myself into school, debate team, honor roll, advanced placement classes. I was going to get into university on scholarships, and I was never going to need my parents for anything ever again. Aunt Diane supported everything. She came to my debate tournaments, put my certificates on the fridge, asked about my day, and actually listened to the answer. She taught me how to be a person, not a disappointment. You know what I learned? She told me one night during my junior year. We were making dinner together, something we did most nights. Your worth isn't determined by how your parents treat you. Their failure to love you properly is their loss, not your deficiency. You are brilliant and kind and resilient, and none of that has anything to do with them. I was 17 then, starting to believe her. I applied to 6 universities, got into 5, chose Simon Fraser University in Vancouver for their criminology program, full scholarship. Aunt Diane cried when we got the acceptance letter. Happy tears this time. I'm so proud of you, she said, hugging me tight. You did this, all by yourself. Not by myself, I corrected. You drove 4 hours in the middle of the night. You gave me a home. You showed me what family is supposed to look like. Well, she said, smiling through tears. That's what real family does. I was 2 months away from starting university when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Maya? It was Victoria. I hadn't heard her voice in 3 years. I almost hung up, but something made me answer. What do you want? I need to talk to you. In person, please. Why would I do that? Because I'm asking. Please, Maya. 1 hour. That's all. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop in Vancouver, neutral territory, public place. She looked different. Thinner. Tired. Her volleyball scholarship hoodie hung loose on her frame. We sat across from each other in silence for a minute. How have you been? She finally asked. Don't, I said quietly. Don't pretend this is a friendly catch-up. Say what you need to say. Victoria stared into her untouched latte. I lied. That night. About the bracelet. About seeing you in my room. I planted the drugs. The cash. All of it. I'd known it. Of course I'd known it. But hearing her say it still felt like a punch to the gut. Why? Because I was jealous. Jealous? Of what? You were the favorite. You had everything. I had their attention, she said. But you had something I didn't. You had yourself. You knew who you were. You were smart and focused, and you didn't need anyone's approval. And I hated you for it. So you destroyed my life. Yes. Her voice cracked. And I've regretted it every single day since. Good. She flinched. I'm in therapy now, working through stuff. And my therapist said I needed to make amends. To tell the truth, I told Mom and Dad last week about what I did. My heart stopped. What did they say? Victoria looked up, eyes red. They didn't believe me at first. I had to show them the receipts from the pawn shop where I sold the bracelet. Had to explain where I really got the drugs my boyfriend at the time was dealing. Even then, Dad said maybe I was just covering for you. That maybe you'd manipulated me into lying. I laughed. Actually laughed. It was bitter and harsh and felt like choking. They want to see you, Victoria continued. They want to apologize. Make things right. No, Maya. No, I said again, harder. They had 3 years to believe me. 3 years to question Victoria's story. 3 years to come find me. They didn't. They chose you then. And I don't care that they know the truth now. It doesn't change anything. They're my parents too, Victoria whispered. And they're destroyed. Mom cries every night. Dad can't sleep. They lost you. And they know it's their fault, and they just want a chance. I don't care what they want. I stood up. You know what I learned living with Aunt Diane? Real parents don't throw their children away over accusations. They investigate. They listen. They protect. Real parents don't choose one child over another. They don't wait 3 years and a confession to care. So that's it? You're never going to forgive them? I picked up my bag. I forgave them a long time ago. Forgiveness is what let me move on with my life. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean giving them another chance to hurt me. They made their choice when I was 15. I'm making mine now. What about me? Her voice was small. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at my twin sister, the person who'd shared a womb with me, who I'd grown up beside, who'd destroyed everything. I don't know yet, I said honestly. Maybe someday, but not today. I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. 2 weeks later, my parents showed up at Aunt Diane's house. I watched from the window as Aunt Diane spoke to them on the porch. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw Mom crying. Dad's shoulders slumped. Aunt Diane's arms crossed, her face stern. After 5 minutes, they left. What did they want? I asked when Aunt Diane came back inside. To see you. To apologize. I told them you weren't ready, and when you were, you'd reach out. I also told them that showing up here unannounced wasn't respecting your boundaries, and if they really loved you, they'd give you space. Thank you. She hugged me. Always. They sent letters. I didn't open them. They tried calling. I didn't answer. They sent a gift for my high school graduation. I donated it unopened. Aunt Diane was the only one who sat in the audience at my graduation. The only one who cheered when I walked across that stage. The only one who mattered. I started at Simon Fraser that fall. Criminology major, psychology minor. I wanted to understand people. Why they made the choices they did. Why families fractured. How justice systems failed. I wanted to make sure no other kid got thrown away. I was good at it too. Made Dean's List every semester. Got a research position with a professor studying wrongful convictions. Started volunteering at a youth advocacy center, helping kids who'd been in situations like mine. I found my purpose. Not despite what happened, but because of it. By my senior year, I was applying to graduate programs. University of Toronto had the best criminology research department in Canada. I got in with full funding. Aunt Diane was going to come with me. She'd already started looking at veterinary practices in Toronto, talking about a change of scenery. You don't have to uproot your life for me, I told her. I'm not, she said. I'm choosing to follow my niece, who's brilliant and accomplished, and who I'm incredibly proud of. Besides, Murphy loves road trips. I was set to graduate in May, valedictorian of my class, highest honors in my department, multiple job offers already lined up. I was 22 years old, and I'd built a life that had nothing to do with my parents. 1 week before graduation, I got a message on Facebook. It was from Victoria. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I thought you should know. I'm 2 years sober now, really working on myself, and I wanted to tell you something I should have said years ago. You were always the strong one. You were always the brave one. And I'm sorry I tried to take that from you. You're going to do amazing things, Maya. You already have. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, thank you. I'm proud of you for getting sober. That takes courage. I didn't say anything else. Didn't offer to meet up or reconnect. But it felt important to acknowledge her growth, even if it didn't change our relationship. Small steps. Maybe that's all we'd ever have. Maybe that was enough. Graduation day was perfect. Sunny, warm, the campus in full bloom. I wore my crimson gown, my honors cords, my valedictorian medal. Aunt Diane was in the front row with Murphy. They'd given him an emotional support animal pass, taking so many photos I was sure her phone would run out of storage. When they announced my name for the valedictorian speech, the applause was thunderous. I walked up to that podium and looked out at 2,000 people. And there, in the middle section, 20 rows back, I saw them. Mom, Dad, Victoria. My heart stopped. I hadn't invited them, hadn't told them about graduation, but someone must have. Maybe they'd found the ceremony details online. Maybe Victoria told them. Mom's hands were clutched together so tightly her knuckles were white. Dad sat perfectly still. Victoria looked at me with something that might have been hope. I looked away. Found Aunt Diane in the front row. She gave me a thumbs up, mouthed, "You've got this." I did. I started my speech. Thank you all for being here today. This moment represents not just 4 years of hard work, but a journey that taught me what really matters in life. When I started at Simon Fraser, I was broken. I'd been abandoned by people who were supposed to protect me. I'd been betrayed by someone who should have been my closest ally. I'd lost everything I thought was permanent. But I learned something crucial. Family isn't always blood. Family is the people who show up, who believe in you when everyone else doubts, who drive 4 hours in the middle of the night because you need them. I learned that your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, that their failure to love you properly is their loss, not your deficiency, that you can survive things you never thought possible and come out stronger on the other side. I learned that forgiveness is powerful, but so are boundaries. That moving forward doesn't always mean going back. That some relationships, once broken, can't be repaired, and that's okay. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. Most importantly, I learned that the family you choose is just as real as the family you're born into. Sometimes more real. I looked directly at Aunt Diane. There's someone here today who changed my life, who took me in when I had nowhere to go, who believed me when no one else would, who showed me what unconditional love really looks like, who taught me that I was worthy, not despite my struggles, but including them, who gave me the foundation to stand here today as valedictorian of this incredible class. Aunt Diane was crying. So this speech, this degree, this moment, none of it would exist without her. And I want everyone here to know that when I say the word family, when I think about who shaped me, who raised me, who I owe everything to, I'm thinking of one person. I paused. Let the moment build. I'm thinking of my aunt, the woman who became my mother when I needed one. The woman who proved that DNA doesn't make you family. Love does. Choice does. Showing up does. The applause started slowly, then built. People started standing. Aunt Diane put her hands over her face, shoulders shaking. I looked back at where my parents sat. Mom's hands were trembling so violently the program fell from her grip. She was crying silently, Dad's hand on her arm. Victoria had her face in her hands. They understood. Finally, they understood what they'd lost, what they'd thrown away, what they'd never get back. I finished my speech, thanked the faculty, wished my fellow graduates luck. When I walked off that stage, the standing ovation continued. Aunt Diane met me at the bottom of the stairs, pulling me into a hug so tight I thought my ribs might crack. "I love you so much," she whispered. "I am so incredibly proud of you." "I love you too, Mom." She pulled back, eyes wide. "What did you call me?" "Mom," I repeated. "If that's okay." She nodded, unable to speak, and hugged me again. We were taking photos afterward, Aunt Diane, Mom, and me and Murphy, when they approached. My parents, my twin. Mom's mascara was ruined. Dad's eyes were red. Victoria hung back, like she knew she didn't belong. "Maya," Mom started. Her voice cracked. "That was beautiful. You were beautiful. We're so proud." "Don't," I said quietly. "Please don't. We just wanted to tell you we're sorry. So sorry. We made a horrible mistake, and we've regretted it every day since we learned the truth." "You learned the truth 3 years ago when I told you," I interrupted. "You just chose not to believe me." Dad stepped forward. "We were wrong. We failed you. And we know we can't undo that, but if there's any chance, there isn't." I said it gently, but firmly. "I've spent 7 years building a life without you. A good life. A life I'm proud of. And I did it without your support, without your belief, without your love. I don't need those things anymore." "We're your parents," Mom whispered. "No," I said. "You're the people who gave birth to me. But you stopped being my parents the night you chose to throw me away instead of listening to me. That woman right there?" I gestured to Aunt Diane. "She's my parent. She's my family. She's everything you should have been but chose not to be." "Maya, please," Victoria started. I looked at her. "I'm genuinely glad you're sober. I'm glad you're getting help, but that doesn't erase what you did or make us family again. We're strangers who shared DNA. That's all we'll ever be." "So that's it?" Dad's voice was rough. 7 years later, and you're still punishing us?" "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. "I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. You made choices that had permanent consequences. I've forgiven you for them. Forgiveness is what let me move forward. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean giving you access to my life. It doesn't mean pretending those 7 years didn't happen. We've changed, Mom said desperately. We're not the same people. Maybe you have changed, but so have I. I've changed into someone who knows her worth, someone who doesn't need validation from people who failed her, someone who learned to love herself because she had to. I took a breath. Here's what I learned from all of this. Actions have permanent consequences. Words can't be unsaid. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family. I looked at each of them. I hope you've learned from your mistakes. I hope you treat each other better now. I genuinely hope you heal from this. But that healing journey doesn't include me. I've already healed. And my healing looked like letting you go. Can we at least write to you? Victoria asked. Send updates about our lives? No, I said simply. I need complete separation. It's not about punishing you. It's about protecting the peace I've worked so hard to build. And that peace requires boundaries. Strong ones. Mom looked like she wanted to argue, but Aunt Diane stepped forward. I think it's time for you to leave, she said. Her voice was kind but immovable. Maya has made her position clear. Respecting that is the first step in respecting her. They left slowly. Mom looked back 3 times. Dad kept his head down. Victoria mouthed, I'm sorry one more time. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just peace. You okay? Aunt Diane asked quietly. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. I really am. We went to dinner that night, just the 2 of us, and Murphy. Celebrated my graduation, my job offer at a victim advocacy organization in Toronto, my future. We laughed and told stories and made plans. We didn't talk about my parents once. That night, lying in bed in my childhood room, the real one, the one Aunt Diane had made for me, I thought about everything that had happened. 7 years from that night on the curb to this moment. I thought about the girl I'd been, scared, hurt, confused, wondering if she'd done something to deserve being thrown away. And I thought about the woman I'd become. Strong, educated, purposeful, knowing her worth, surrounded by real love. I didn't happen despite what my parents did. I happened because of it. Because being broken open meant I got to rebuild myself the right way. With the right foundation. With the right people. My parents taught me what family shouldn't be. Aunt Diane taught me what it should be. Victoria taught me that blood doesn't obligate you to accept mistreatment. And I taught myself that you can survive anything if you remember your worth. I graduated with the highest honors in my department. I moved to Toronto and started my dream job. I published research on wrongful convictions and systemic bias. I helped kids who'd been thrown away, just like I was, find their footing again. I built a life that meant something. Aunt Diane Mom moved to Toronto 6 months after I did. Found a great practice, bought a house near mine. We had dinner together twice a week. Murphy became an Instagram sensation at the local dog park. We were happy. Really, truly happy. I never saw my parents or Victoria again. I don't know if they're okay. I don't know if they healed. I don't know if they think about me. I hope they learned something. I hope they're kinder to each other. I hope they understand that love isn't about favoritism or control. It's about showing up, believing, protecting. But mostly, I hope they understand that some mistakes are permanent. Some choices can't be undone. And sometimes the person you hurt decides that forgiving you doesn't mean keeping you in their life. That's their lesson to learn. Mine was different. I learned that you don't need your parents' approval to be worthy. You don't need your twins' validation to know who you are. You don't need blood to have family. I learned that the family you choose, the people who choose you back, the ones who show up in the middle of the night and drive 4 hours because you need them, those are the people who matter. I learned that healing doesn't always look like reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like boundaries, distance. A firm, gentle no. I learned that you can survive being thrown away and come out stronger. That rock bottom is a solid foundation to rebuild on. That the person who saves you might not be the one you expected, but they're exactly the one you needed. Most importantly, I learned that at the end of the day, the only approval you need is your own. The only validation that matters is knowing you did your best with what you had. The only family you're obligated to is the one that treats you like family. Everything else is just DNA. And DNA isn't enough. I'm 22 years old. I have a career I'm proud of, a home I love, a mother who chose me, and a future that's entirely mine. I'm not my parents' daughter anymore. I'm Diane's daughter. I'm my own person. I'm exactly who I was meant to become. And I've never been happier. That's the lesson I want to leave you with. Your worth isn't determined by how your family treats you. Their failure to love you properly is their loss, not your deficiency. You are allowed to walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're blood. You are allowed to build your own family. You are allowed to protect your peace, and you are allowed to thrive without them. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't destroying the people who hurt you. It's becoming so whole, so happy, so successful without them that their absence becomes irrelevant. That's what I did. And if you're reading this from your own curb, waiting for your own rescue, know this: you will survive, you will heal, you will build something beautiful from these broken pieces. And one day, you'll stand on your own stage and thank the person who showed up when everyone else walked away. That day is coming. I promise.